Hello, just a quick update on the progress of my wind simulator. So yeah, last time out I had finished my prototyping. I was messing around with some airflow dynamics and and I was waiting for some PCBs to arrive from China. Well, I'm glad to say that they have finally arrived. These have come in from PCBWay. I had to wait a couple of weeks in the end. Took them maybe 10 days to come from China, and then I don't know, 4 days hanging around in the UK for some reason. But anyway, got them in the end. Can't complain too much because they cost £4 for 10 PCBs manufactured and shipped. So yeah, pretty decent. Quite straightforward circuit boards, really. Pretty simple. It's just a hard version of my prototype, if you like. So yep, Arduino goes here, power block goes here, and 2 fan headers go here. So that's that. Really happy with these. This is my first circuit board, and I've made one up already, which I'll show you in a second, and they work perfectly well. So that's really good. So yes, in combination with the various different componentry, which I've ordered from, I actually got these from RS in the end because their part numbers were a nice match for Fusion 360, which made laying out these boards way easier. So yes, that's the power block, sorry, and these are the 2 fan headers. These are just like little Molex fan headers with the it's like a friction connector grip thing here. So yep, these just kind of go into the board as I've designed them, which is great. As I say, with the RS components, I can just enter their product codes into Fusion 360 and then they just mount straight onto the board, which is great. So that's how they go there. The Arduino sits here on these little pins, like these little fellas here, and yeah, that's it. That's the circuit. That's all of the electronics that I need for my wind simulator, which is great. So yeah, I've 3D printed a little test box, and this is what the whole lot looks like mounted into its sort of enclosure. Oh yes, I've also got these 12-volt DC barrel connectors, panel mounts, so I'm just using that there to connect to 12-volt just for the fans. Arduino's 5-volt of USB, so we don't need any power for that. So that works great. Super happy about that. Now, this is my lack of engineering skill and experience. I just assumed that I could get some sort of USB panel mount to attach from the Arduino to the edge of the enclosure, and I can get them, but they're really big, they're really bulky. They either come with a ton of cable or I have to wire them myself, and I'm not there yet. So I need to figure out what I'm going to do in terms of getting this USB connection to the edge of the enclosure here. Now, for my testing purposes, I can just plug a USB cable in here and run it through that hole, and it works perfectly fine. Obviously, that's not the end product. So that's where we're at with that. And then yeah, sort of in terms of the fans, they just plug into the fan header here, doink, and there we go. We just have a fan connected, and as I say, 12-volt DC goes in there, USB into there, fire up sim hub, and it all works perfectly well, as I had hoped. Left and right fans for wind simulation. So yeah, I'm still not sure what I'm going to do with this yet. I might just have to. I mean, as I say, these boards only cost me £4, or less than £4. It was actually $4 US, so 360 or whatever it was. So I might just redesign these, offer the board up directly to the edge of the enclosure here, and redesign some of the componentry just so that it's sort of a better fit. Maybe if I have USB one side, power on the other side, maybe we'll do something like that. Or if I can find a USB-C panel mount, that'd be ideal. I didn't want to offer the board up to the edge of the enclosure, just because I feel like components sitting on the edge, if they're going to fail, they're going to fail in a really bad way. Whereas if you've just got a panel mount and like an extension, if it fails, it's probably going to be much easier to replace, rather than having to replace a whole Arduino. So that's going to be making some more progress on that. I'm just going to see. I've been asking on Reddit to see if anybody can come up with any ideas for what I could do with this, but failing that, it'll just be some different PCBs and a different enclosure design, which is fine because I'm nowhere near selling these yet. Tube. Let me see if I can zoom out here any more. I can't really. But okay. So this is the this is the tubing that I've got from. Let me just see if I can move the camera out. See if you can see this any better. Yeah. So these are cold air induction hoses that are for cars, and the intention was to. Let me just grab this fan here. Take my fan with all of its various parts on it, and take this off here, and we can mount this on here like this in a very rough fashion. And the idea is then that you can have your fans somewhere else, and then these, which you can then mount somewhere around your sim rig. Now, the idea, the idea is a fair idea. I've seen other people making wind simulators that work in that fashion, but there is just too much going on. There's too much air being leaked. In fact, I'm not sure if you can see down here the edges. There's also this air and these edges here, because these aren't a perfect fit. There's a little bit of air leaking here, so I'm not sure if I'm going to have to come up with a gasket for these particular parts that might prevent air from leaking. But in any case, there's too much air leaking between those various different sort of attachments, and by the time the air comes out the end of the tube, it's not very strong. It isn't great. So I think I need to have a little think about that. I'm not even sure if 120mm fans are kind of the best fit in that scenario. Maybe some bigger fans with some better airflow are better suited to that. The only problem with that, of course, is that they become noisy. These are already, I mean, they're not loud, but they already create a bit of noise. So I'm not sure if the induction tubes are the way to go for this particular 120mm fan. Now, yeah, as maybe you saw in the last video, this, however, attached directly to the back of the fan here is much better. There's way less fitments and things for air to get lost, and also the fan, because it's just closer to your face. When you just have something like that blowing directly onto you, it's much more effective. So I think that's what probably the route that I'm going to take with my first iteration of this. I just need to, what I'm working on next is some sort of mounting bracket to attach these fans to the sim rig. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that yet. I might just go with an extension arm, something, you can ignore this because this one's broken, but something a bit like this, potentially onto the bottom of the thing, so we could tilt it up or down, and then maybe have that mounted somewhere here. I'm not entirely sure yet, but in any case, these fans, when they're pointing directly at your face, are very effective. So I think that's probably what I'll do for the first version of this. And then if people really do want these induction hoses, which I think it basically means that you can run your fan further away from your sim rig if you want to, although I'm not entirely sure why you'd want to do that. But yeah, so I think maybe my first version we'll just use this airflow amplifier, and we'll go with that. So yeah, that's what we're working on, or that's what I'm working on at the minute. Yeah, it's just a bit of a slow process, because finding out which components work and which don't, and which fans produce the best airflow, and all these sorts of bits and pieces. So yeah, that's where we're at with that. Probably, it might be a couple of weeks off before I'm ready to kind of do much more with this, really. But yeah, all sorts of other things in the pipeline as well. I've just had a bunch of buttons and switches and things like that arrive, because I'm going to be putting some button boxes together. So I have tubs and tubs of Arduinos sitting here ready to be used for various different purposes. So yeah, wind sim, button boxes, and variations of all of my existing products, iFlags and things like that. So yeah, busy times, very, very busy, but it's all good and interesting stuff. Okay, I think that is pretty much it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. If you could leave a like and maybe even, if you're that bothered, maybe a little subscribe to my channel, that'd be fantastic. All of the YouTubey things. And also, if you want to see any of the products that I have in my shop, I've currently just got the 3 sim racing products, which is yeah, as I said, my iFlag, my Stream Deck enclosure, and my RPM gauge, my digital RPM gauge. Oh, yes, that's the other thing, actually. I'm also working on an analog RPM gauge for people who want that. That's an interesting one. Analog signals. Yes. So, yeah, that's it for now. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.